Hey everybody, this is Andrew from T is for Tech, and today I'm making a video just to kind of talk about the Tesla Model Y reveal event last night out in California, and just for the sake of getting it out there, I've always been kind of in the corner of electric cars. And I've been following Tesla for years, with the introduction of the Roadster and their Model S and the Model X and then the Model 3 and now the Model Y. And I really haven't had any YouTube videos about it or anything like that because there's plenty of other YouTubers out there that have videos about Tesla, and they're showing off their cars and they have a lot of content around their cars. And I don't yet have a Tesla, so I felt kind of weird, like why would I start making all these videos about Tesla when I don't have one, right? So, and part of it was obviously, the Model X, the Model S, in a decent configuration is a lot of money, right? And I don't have 60, 70, 80, 100, $120,000 to spend on a car, especially. I mean, there's other things I'd rather invest that money in than a car, I suppose. Even though I love technology, I love computers, I'm into software, it's part of my career for the last 20 plus years, all that, I mean, it's a cool thing, right? I mean, if I had the means, certainly, and my kids didn't need to go to school and all of that, I would have bought one in a heartbeat. But I have seriously been considering the Model 3 over the last year, just knowing that the price point would be much lower and more attainable for common folk, right? Like I would consider myself, kind of in that range of I'm not a millionaire for sure, right? So, and even up until just recently, the Model 3 has been slightly expensive, right? If you're talking $45,000 to $60,000 or whatever, kind of the range is for the mid range or the long range battery options, that's a lot of money too, right? It's no way around it. I mean, it doesn't matter how much gas money I would save. I mean, it's still a lot of money. But kind of on the same side, right? So then $35,000 base Model 3's out, give or take the little bit of price increase stuff that they're talking about recently with the 3% increase beyond the base, and that would probably do it for me on a normal commute basis, right? I commute 8 miles one way, about 8.5 miles one way to the office when I go into the office, so under 20 miles back and forth on a daily basis. I would be fine with just the base Model 3, the 220 mile range or whatever it is, I think. But that being said, I like the size of kind of the Model X, right? A little bit bigger. My wife has an SUV. When we go places, we have an SUV. I have a sedan right now, but it's a fairly large car, a lot of trunk space and all of that. So the Model 3, it could work for me, right? I mean, there's not a doubt that it wouldn't be an awesome car, but I was also kind of curious as to what they're going to do with the Model Y, right? So if it was basically the Model 3 plus a little bit bigger, right? And kind of in that little compact SUV format, I mean, to me, that's something that's super interesting. And that's basically what they introduced tonight. And we'll take a look here in a second at the specs on the website. But basically, it is the Model 3 Plus, right? It's a little bit bigger. It's got the hatchback type arrangement, not as complicated and crazy, and with the Falcon Wing doors and all of that stuff like the Model X has. But it is something I think that is going to be very interesting to a lot of people. Right? People that don't want to go and spend a ton more money for Model X, but maybe they want something bigger than the Model 3 in that kind of SUV category. And maybe they're not a fan of the sedan or whatever. This is going to sell like hotcakes. I 100% believe that this will be the most bought, the most sold Tesla, at least for the next few years once this thing gets into production. And the intention here in this video is not to replay the event and all of that. It's to give a little bit of a commentary and some highlight around what happened. I'll link to in the description to some live stream recordings where you can just watch the event itself, right? So basically what Elon did here is kind of he did the history of Tesla, talked about kind of their goals in starting the company, from building the single first roadster that they built to the 1 million cars that they will have built very shortly, just due to the ramp up of the Model 3. So basically here, and I'll just skip through a bunch of this. He's talking about the Model S and how that kind of was created, and all the troubles that they had just getting into mass production with a car. He talks a little bit about their Fremont factory and just the trials and tribulations around getting something like a car to market. Being one of the first new car makers to manufacture something like this in 100+ years, right? Like all these other companies have been around for a long time. Tesla is one of the first startup car companies where they had to kind of start this over from scratch on a totally new platform, right? Not leveraging any of the internal combustion engine sort of paradigms and all that stuff that's been out there in the past. So talks a little bit about a Model S. Then he brings out the Model X and talks about that, about how they wanted to kind of reinvent what an SUV could be, right? With all of the technology and the Falcon wing doors and the seating for 7 people and the panoramic roof and like all these things that they did for the Model X, which made it an awesome car, but also made it even more difficult to build than the Model S, right? So Elon talks a little bit about that. Talks about how they were just super overly ambitious and throwing all the whiz-bang things that they could into that car, which made it, and there were delays, and they got caught some heat early on just on how long it took to get the thing to market after they announced it, and a lot of the problems they had with the Falcon wing doors and things like that, like the complicated just mechanics of the car kind of as they were ramping up there. So he talks a little bit about that, talks about how that segment is evolving, right? The SUV. And as you know, I mean, all the car companies are really building those kind of trucks and SUVs a lot, right? Nowadays, a lot of interest in people having those. And then he talks about the Model 3, as you can see here. He pulls that out, talks about this is the big mass market play that they have. When they went from the Roadster, which is high price, low quantity, to the Model S, which is supposed to be a little bit lower price, a little bit higher quantity. The Model X really kind of plays in that, I think, that same vein as the Model S. It's kind of lower volume, higher end luxury type car, and then jumping into the Model 3 where it's the more just mass production, affordable. And then, so he talks a little bit about that and some of the advancements that they had kind of over those life cycles of the cars before he gets to the Model Y. And before he gets to the Model Y, and I'm going to cut this all out, he talks a little bit for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes kind of around, like I said before, the factory, the new Roadster here, as you can see coming out, the Tesla Semi in the background, you can see there that they brought out, solar panels and the Tesla power packs and the power walls and all that stuff. So he talks a bunch about other things Tesla's doing before he actually introduced the Model Y. So I'm just going to skip ahead and then let the video kind of play with him talking a little bit about the Model Y, and then we'll kind of finish up the video towards the after that.
Extended history lesson. All right. The Model Y. Yeah. So, like the 3, it will be extremely safe. So that you may know the Model 3 has the lowest probability of injury of any car ever tested by the US government. The Model Y, we expect, will have a similar result. 5 stars in every category. With the battery pack low in the floor, it's going to have a very low center of gravity. So this will, it has the functionality of an SUV, but it will ride like a sports car. So this thing will be really tight in corners. And we expect it will be the safest mid-size SUV in the world by far. And at Tesla, we actually always design with safety as the #1 goal. It's like people think, okay, performance, sure, but safety first. This is actually by far the most important thing. But it's also going to have incredible performance. So we expect to have a 3.5 seconds 0 to 60. Yeah, it's good. And very low center of gravity, so great handling. It's testing out at a 0.23 drag coefficient, which is extremely good for an SUV. And in terms of range, 300 miles. Yeah. So we expect to have an EPA range of, an actual true usable range of 300 miles. So, yeah. Yeah. From an interior standpoint, it has a panoramic glass roof. And by the way, after I'm done here, you guys will be able to come up and check out the car. So it's so it's going to have a panoramic glass roof. It really feels like, just like the Model 3. If you're in the car, it just feels like you can see the sky. Seat 7, 66 cubic feet. Obviously autopilot and all that. And as I've said publicly, we expect to be feature complete with self-driving sometime later this year. And then as we prove out the safety with billions of miles and kilometers, we will, from our standpoint, feel it's safe enough to not pay attention and then get the regulatory approval sometime thereafter. But the cool thing is feature complete. It'll be able to do basically anything by the end of this year. Just with software upgrades, which is pretty cool. So let's see, Model Y lineup. Okay, there you go. So yeah, the basically long range one we expect to be about $47,000, and then sometime in 2021 we'll have the sort of standard version, which will have a $39,000 price point. So, yeah. No, the 7 seats are optional. Yeah. Do you mean the liftgate? Yes. Okay. I mean, you never know. We might do better than this, but so it should be at least as good. So I think it's going to be really compelling. I'm confident that it'll be of any mid-size SUV, it'll be the one you want. Yeah, I think it'll probably sell. I think we'll probably do more Model Ys than S, X, and 3 combined, most likely. Yeah. So there you have the sexy presentation. So, all right. Thank you all for coming. Those of you who are here and those of you who are watching, thank you very much for your support over the years. It's been, a hell of a ride.
So now we'll jump over to the Tesla website. They have a new section up for Model Y. Obviously, it has pictures and more details about the car itself. Like Elon said there when he did the introduction, 300 mile estimated range, and it wasn't 100% clear in my mind, at least until I look at his lineup sheet again. whether or not the standard model would have 300 miles. Probably not, right? I think I remember on there it was a little bit lower. But in typical Tesla fashion, you can go on here right now and order one of these things. And they kind of start off with the higher end. So they're doing the all-wheel drive dual motor versions, probably some performance model version, and then same thing with the Model 3. Over time, then they'll start to release the cheaper version, the standard base model. But you can take a look at this. I don't really need to kind of go through all this. But similar structure, everything that you would assume that other Teslas, and especially the Model 3, because a lot of this looks similar to the way that they built the Model 3, and just because it is very similar. Here's the photo of the interior showing the seats kind of down. He did say in the video that the third row seat is optional. So really just the standard car will have the 2 front seats and the second row seat. So you're looking at 5 passengers, and then you can add the 7 by having the upgraded seating in the back. And I'm curious as to how hard that will be to get in. One of the selling points of the Model X was the Falcon Wing doors made it easy to get to the back seats. Not sure, and we'll have to wait and see how that works in this case, because even if the mid-row seats pop forward some way, you're kind of crawling into the back there. It's typically kind of a pain in most cars that have a third row seat in the compact SUV space. So I'd be interested to see how they kind of handle that in the Model Y. It is a good looking car. I mean, basically looks like the Model X and the Model 3 had a baby, and that's what you see. And I think it is an attractive looking car. I mean, all the Tesla, to me, I think that they look pretty nice. They're not too futuristic, but they look sleek and sporty, and just look really nice. Look like awesome cars. It talks about the same thing, autopilot. Interior very much the same as the Model 3, right? Built around the driver, and panoramic glass roof, and the screen, right? The 15-inch touchscreen display, the kind of central hub of everything that how you'll interact with the car, other than the few adjustments in the stalks and the 2 kind of those wheel button things on the steering wheel. So yeah, it looks good. Okay, here are the specs. So the performance version of this will, obviously long range battery, 3.5 seconds 0 to 60, 280 miles EPA range, dual motors, all that. So the long range all-wheel drive basically drops, obviously, the acceleration down a little bit. The range stays the same. Top speed changes, goes down a little bit. Long range rear wheel drive is where some of that efficiency kicks in, and you'll get a little bit higher range, a little bit slower acceleration, etc. This is how they do everything in their models, right? And then the standard range, okay, so 230 miles. So that's not bad. I mean, the standard would be close to the standard Model 3, which I think only gets 220 at the base. So basically about the same, 6 seconds, 0 to 60. Yeah, so there you go. So that's basically it. And then if you want, you can go ahead and take a look and actually go through the configurator and see the options, right? So you can do an order now. And we'll just run through this real quick, and then I'll end this video. So you can configure and pre-order. I really honestly hate this whole before savings, after savings thing that they do, because it just obfuscates the price, right? Just tell me the price and don't tell me after savings stuff. So basically the base is 47,000. The long range base is 47,000 in rear wheel drive, and the dual motors. So you're looking at 51,000 and 60,000, and that's before you kind of tack on some stuff. So if we picked, like, say for instance, I want the performance, and I want a color that's not black, so I want a red one. I got the performance wheels. I want the 7-seat interior. Give me the white interior. Let's tick both of these things for the autopilot self-driving. That basically gets you up to $74,000. You know, $74,500 purchase price. This is just, again, it's not cheap, right? This is pretty expensive. So now if I go back and say, you know, for 2020, if I want to order one of these things, what's the cheapest I can order? I can get the long range. I can get black with the arrow wheels. I can get the black interior. I can get the included 5-seat. Maybe I don't want the autopilot, you know, and then you're talking basically $47,000. So that's the cheapest one you can get next year. And then the following year, when they said 2021, then you'll be able to get the base with the smaller battery pack. So it wouldn't be long range. I'm sure they're going to have a mid range and the standard range, and that gets you down into the upper 30s. Anyways, like I said, pretty exciting. You know, I was looking forward to this for a while. I'd have to think about it as to, you know, whether or not I would want something like this over the Model 3. To me, it's more, seems like it'd be more functional if you have a family. You know, I have a wife and 2 kids. And to me, this would seem like it'd have a little bit more storage space, capacity for luggage, vacations, and all that sort of thing versus the Model 3. So I'm probably going to lean towards something like this. So we'll see how this kind of plays out over the next, you know, weeks and months and in the next year. But definitely for me, this is the car that I would want. So thanks for watching. I'll put some links in the description to the full Tesla Model Y event. This is Andrew from T is for Tech, and I'll see you next time.